guys, in this video I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite books that I read in 2023. So, my book reading for 2023 was a rather bizarre year of reading for me. I didn't really get as many books read as I would have liked, which, it's okay. Some years you're not going to get as much read as you would like. Because a big thing that I did in 2023 for my reading, I was definitely going through like a bunch of like big chunky series where like the books were like pretty close to 1,000 pages, if not 1,000 pages. So yeah, I spent a lot of 2023 trying to get through a lot of books that it's like, I've been procrastinating, putting these books off that are huge. I need to get around to them. So yeah, hence why I kind of didn't really get around to too many books. And yeah, kind of as a result as well, I didn't really get around to too many like brand new books, like books actually published in 2023. So yeah, this year's list, even though all the books on this list are books that I enjoyed, it's like there's still not books like that I was absolutely like, wow, I'm just freaking mind blown away, But yeah, they're all still books that I did personally enjoy in 2023, and yeah, let's go through them and rank them, I guess. And as always, when I do this particular video every year, I always have two different categories for books. There is a list of books that I read that were actually published in that particular year, and then another list of books that I read that are brand new to me, that were published prior to that year. I kind of think it's fair to kind of separate them and rank them in that regard. So yeah, let's start off with my list of favorite books that I read published pre-2023. At number 5, The Mad Women's Ball by Victoria Maz. If you don't know what the Mad Women's Ball is about, it takes place in like the 1800s in France, and it follows a young woman who she says that she claims that she can communicate with the dead. Now, this being the 1800s in France and whatnot, being like, hey, I can speak to dead people, and you're a young, wealthy woman, that's a big no-no. So what ends up happening, her family's like, she's a little crazy, this ain't good, she needs to be a marriageable young woman, she needs to get married off and be a traditional woman, in our society, our upper class society. So her parents are like, we're gonna toss her away into the local insane asylum, which is what happens. So yeah, this young woman, she spends time at the local asylum with other mad women, essentially. And our other focal character is like a nurse in this environment. And this nurse and the young woman kind of gain a really close relationship with one another, as they're trying to help each other navigate in this asylum and whatnot, and maybe with the intent of helping this young woman escape from the asylum at some point. Because yeah, the nurse starts to figure, I don't think this woman's as crazy as everyone thinks she is. I think there's some truth and logic to what she's saying, that she really can speak to dead people. And yeah, the big central focus of this novel, every year at this asylum, is what is called the Mad Women's Ball. That's held where upper class people come to the asylum, and they mingle with the mad women, and it's really kind of just this spectacle, and for people to come and gawk at these women, because when else are they going to be around women like this, So it's kind of a really humiliating sort of thing, even though the women in the asylum, the thing is, they really look forward to this ball, because it's the one time of the year where they get to do something different and interact with different people and whatnot. They don't quite understand kind of the humiliation factor involved at times. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It's very short, it's very quick and easy to get through. I loved Victoria Maz's wonderful, beautiful poetic writing. She definitely had a really good attention and flair for historic detail. And yeah, I mean, a big thing about this book, it's focusing a lot on these women at this asylum, and Victoria Maz, she doesn't like belittle these women or anything like that. These women are given voices, and you're able to kind of look under the surface of their flaws, you know, and yeah, treating mental illness as something not to kind of like look away from and steer clear of, you know, that mental illness is normal and whatnot, you know, and what these women needed, you know, they needed compassion and care, not torture, essentially, from what the doctors were doing, thinking they were curing these women with, you know, what was considered hip and modern at the time. So I really enjoyed this book. Like I said, short, easy to get through. I love the historical detail of this. And also there's a wonderful French adaptation of this this book, a movie. I loved the movie. The movie is a very near perfect adaptation of this. So yeah, read the book and watch the movie as well. At number 4, The Last Days of Night by Graham Moore. This was a pleasant surprise of a book that I read this year, you guys, or rather 2023. This was just such a pleasant surprise of a book. I love the writing of this. Oh my God. I love the really strong attention to detail in this book. And yeah, a subject matter that I was not familiar with at all. You know, when I tend to read historical fiction, I read a lot of historical fiction that deals with like royalty, you know, especially like European royalty. And yet this book was just totally brand new for me, which I was thrilled and excited about. And yeah, what this book is about, it follows a lawyer who's he's kind of in this battle, in a sense, between opposing sides who are claiming they are the inventor of the light bulb. So you have big historical men of this era, you know, like Thomas Edison and George Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla and whatnot. You have all these big powerhouses of the day, and who are coming up with these brilliant inventions. And yeah, their whole thing is, well, I'm the one who created the light bulb, you idiot. So yeah, this whole book is about the current war, you know, electricity and whatnot. And on the surface, this book might sound kind of dull and boring. It's about electricity and the invention of the light bulb and all these rich, wealthy men arguing about that, you know. But the thing is, Graham Moore's writing and just his rich historic detail and research, he makes this book just absolutely thrilling and exciting. And yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all, you know. I honestly was not expecting that. So yeah, this ended up being definitely one of my top favorites of the year, hence why it's in this video. At number 3, The Guest List by Lucy Foley. Ooh, this book was so good. Yeah, guys. When I first initially kind of got the book, I was like, you know, I have a feeling this is going to end up being just, you know, rather perhaps generic mystery thriller. And I mean, in some ways, perhaps it is, but oh boy, I was blown away with this mystery. It's about a man and woman who are getting married at like on a remote island, like off the coast of, is it off the coast of Ireland? Yeah. They're having a wedding on some island off the coast of Ireland, and they invite a bunch of their family and friends to the wedding, obviously. And yeah, this whole ominous storm is luring in the background and whatnot. And of course, the big murder mystery thriller element of this book is, yeah, someone winds up dead, obviously. But the thing is, what Lucy Foley does so wonderfully, you have no idea who the body is initially. You know there's a body because people keep talking about it. You don't know who the body is just yet. And so yeah, the way the narrative is structured, you have kind of the days leading up to the wedding. You know, you have everything leading up to the wedding. You have the day of the wedding, and then yeah, what happens the night of the wedding? Because this is where the big murder mystery thriller element happens and whatnot. So I just really found this book to be absolutely thrilling and engaging. I love the mystery thriller elements of it, obviously, and I honestly couldn't figure out what was going on at times. In some ways, the book is rather predictable, because I did from the get-go figure out the body, who was going to be the person who was dead. You know, I did figure that out. It's really, once you kind of think about it, it's kind of obvious. But despite some predictability in some ways, it's like there were still elements of it that I still wasn't entirely like, well, what's still, I was like, what's going to happen? That I was still left guessing, and I was still surprised by some of the twists and turns that it took. It's definitely kind of a roller coaster of a book. And yeah, if you're looking for a good mystery thriller, I definitely recommend this one. At number 2, The Ink Black Heart by Robert Galbraith. Oh boy, you guys, I freaking love this book. um, one of the big things that I got up to in 2023, I wanted to get through the Cormoran Strike series. I've heard so much about the Cormoran Strike series. I love the British television show that is based off of these books. I love that show to bits. So yeah, I was like, I am ready and excited to finally read these books. And yet, they're beasts of books. Every single one of these books are around 1,000 freaking pages long. Yeah, guys. So yeah, one of my favorite books in the series was this book in particular. Now, yeah, a little bit of background information. If you have no idea what the Cormoran Strike series is about, they take place in like contemporary London. They follow a private detective named Cormoran Strike. A big thing about his character is that he's actually missing a leg because when he was in Afghanistan, it got blown off and whatnot. So that's kind of one of his big character things that he struggles with. And then another main character is his work partner, Robin Ellicott, who helps him talk with people who are suspects and whatnot, and she'll go undercover and do things. So yeah, that's kind of the background information of the whole series. But yeah, this book in particular, the good thing about this series is that you can read these books just standalone. You don't necessarily have to read them in order if you kind of just want to pop around in them, But yeah, this book in particular, the big thing going on in this one, Strike and Robin, they are investigating a thing that happens, the stabbing of 2 creators of a very popular web cartoon. And this web cartoon in this universe, it's a fictional web cartoon, but in this universe, it's called The Ink Black Heart. And yeah, this cartoon is very, very popular on like YouTube and whatnot, and it's about to be made into like a Netflix series. And yeah, the 2 creators behind this popular cartoon, they are found stabbed. One dies, but the other is like in critical condition. And they've been stabbed at like Highgate Cemetery, which is where the cartoon takes place. So, Strike and Robin, they are investigating this stabbing, this very brutal stabbing that resulted in 1 death. And they quickly find out that there is an anonymous figure on the internet, simply only known as Anami, who has been harassing these creators for like years and trolling them and whatnot. And this Anami character really feels like they have ownership of like this cartoon property and whatnot, and they know what's best for this cartoon and whatnot. So this book is definitely an exploration of like internet culture, our obsession with media, our obsession with fame and celebrity and whatnot. And yeah, just the nature of the internet, trolling and whatnot, that whole type of culture that has just gotten so toxic in years. So I just freaking loved this book. Easily kind of my favorite of the books in the Strike series and whatnot. Yeah, even though it's a beast of a book, it never felt long whatsoever. And I loved every damn second of it. I loved the brilliant twists and turns of it. Wonderful. And at number 1, my favorite book that was published pre-2023, The Whalebone Theatre by Joanna Quinn. This was such a quaint, charming British book. This book, it covers a couple decades, essentially. It starts like in the 20s, I believe. Does it start in the 20s? Yeah, it starts in 1928 and kind of goes through the 30s and 40s, pretty much through like World War II and whatnot. So what this book is about, it follows this upper class family. The little girl in the family, she goes out to the beach one day, and a whale has beached up on shore and it's dead. So what ends up happening, of course, this beached whale kind of starts decaying and rotting away. And the thing is, this little girl, with help and assistance from, locals and whatnot, they take the remains of this whale, the skeleton and whatnot, and they make a theater out of it. Hence why this is called the Whalebone Theater. This is literal. The theater is a well, the remains of a well. So this little girl makes a theater where her and her siblings put on little performances, especially like a lot of Shakespeare and whatnot. And as the decades are going by and we're getting into World War II and whatnot, this little girl, because of her play acting and whatnot, she actually becomes a spy. She becomes a spy, and she's recruited, to commit espionage and whatnot for her country during World War II. I just found this whole book to be just so compelling and brilliant, you guys. Just masterful, beautiful writing by Joanna Quinn. The core of this story is definitely this family. This family who's going through things pre-World War II, but then get everything that's happening during World War II, and obviously it's going to be upsetting and heartbreaking and tragic, and yeah, the tight relationship that these siblings have with one another, and like the nostalgic feelings they have, because this book spends a very lengthy amount of time on their childhood with this Whalebone Theater that they create, and the kind of the symbolic meaning behind that, what that means for their childhood and as they grow up and whatnot, and how they look back on that. I just loved this book, you guys. Ignore the terrible cover. This is such an ugly cover, but yeah, the writing inside is just absolutely wonderfully done, beautiful, descriptive, without being too overly showy or flowery or anything. Yeah, easily one of my favorite books of the year. Okay, so moving into my list of favorite books that I read that were actually published in 2023. At number 5, Pandora by Susan Stokes Chapman. What you need to know about this book: it takes place in London in 1799. It follows a young woman named Dora, who's like an aspiring jewelry artist and whatnot. One day, coming into her life, her uncle brings home this strange, mysterious vase. Turns out, has some sort of connection to the legend of Pandora. You guys, we all know how that goes, Pandora opening her box and all evil being unleashed into the world and whatnot. So Dora is just really curious about this vase that comes into her house, and she's not quite sure if it's legit, if it's real, if it's fake, what's up with her uncle with this vase, because her uncle is a rather nefarious figure in this book. So it's like, what's her uncle up to with this vase and whatnot? And yeah, helping her on this journey to figure out what's up with this vase is a young antiquities scholar. Of course, there's a little bit of romance that blooms between these two. And yeah, the narrative of this story, it's not a retelling of any sort of Pandora, but it's definitely inspired by the legend and story of Pandora. And I like the nature of this book, in kind of this magical realism element to it. Are the things that are happening in this book, are they for real? Are they real supernatural occurrences? Are they just totally coincidence? So yeah, Dora and this antiquities scholar, they got to kind of figure that mystery out. Is this indeed really Pandora's box and whatnot? The original. Yeah, in some ways, this book might kind of come across as a bit of like generic historical fiction in some ways, but still, just Susan Stokes Chapman, her writing, I really found her writing to be really wonderful and interesting. I just really liked how she told this story. Instead of doing a traditional classic retelling of Pandora's story, this is rather just more inspired, kind of refreshing. There's so much Greek mythology retellings out there on the historical fiction market that it's just overwhelming and overloaded. So I like that. I liked what Susan Stokes Chapman did here. She kind of took an alternate approach. Like, I'm not going to tell the story of Pandora. I'm going to kind of put my own spin on it. At number 4, Spare by Prince Harry. This is one of those books that's rather controversial. You either love it or you hate it. I really quite enjoyed this. Now, yes, it's come out that Prince Harry definitely, most likely, he definitely probably had a ghost writer for this book. I do find it hard to believe he actually wrote this, but still, whoever was writing this book, I still really liked this. It was very intriguing. It was one of my most anticipated books of 2023. I was just so morbidly curious about this book, just because Prince Harry has just been acting all sorts of crazy in recent years, since he got married, and you either love him or you hate him, and I just can't quite figure out my feelings for Prince Harry, after the fact and whatnot. But I'm seriously very morbidly curious about this book and what he had to say. And it's hard to judge a book like this because this book is his own personal truth. This is what he sees as his truth and his version of events. So it's hard to kind of judge based off of that. You can't sit and just call out people and be like, oh yeah, this is just rubbish. No. But I still really really highly enjoyed this book, and it was enjoyable in its own way. And I think that there's something in this book that's rather cathartic for Harry, for him to just get out what he needs to get out, and hopefully he's okay with that now. So yeah, like I said, probably a very controversial book on this list. You either love it, you hate it, you either love Harry or you hate Harry. But yeah, I did personally really find this quite entertaining, I shall say. At number 3, The Running Grave by Robert Galbraith. So yes, I have another Cormoran Strike book on my list. But yeah, Ink Black Heart was published, pre-2023, and this book was actually published in 2023. So yeah, what's going on in this particular installment? Strike and Robin are dealing with a cult. A religious cult of fanatics. And in order for them to figure out what the hell's going on with this cult, Robin's like, yeah, I'll infiltrate my way in there and I'll become a member. And she gives herself a whole new identity and persona and whatnot, so she can talk to people and try to figure out what's going on with this cult. Because Strike and Robin have been hired by a wealthy guy whose son has been seduced into this cult, and he wants his son out of there. So yeah, this book, ooh, so good, you guys. Cults are always just so fascinating and interesting, because it's like, how do people get into that state of mind to just be seduced by a cult? What in their life kind of leads them to that point? And yeah, cults are just so weird and nefarious and iffy, so yeah, this book is tackling a lot when it comes to religious cults and whatnot, and that fanaticism, and yeah, like the celebrity culture kind of within that, how people view like the leader of this cult. He's worshipped like a god practically. And yeah, I mean, it's also just poking fun too at like celebrities who kind of join these cults as well, and they're like, oh, it's not a cult, but it is. We all know it is, like Tom Cruise and Scientology and whatnot. So yeah, I loved this installment in the Cormoran Strike series. Once again, another freaking beast of a book. I loved everything with Robin undercover, just some of the most intense writing going on in this book. Like, oh my god. Yeah, I can't wait for the next one. At number 2, Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare, and this is book 3 in the Last Hours trilogy. This book has been a long time coming. I've just been so anxious and looking forward to this final book in this trilogy. If you don't know what this series is about, it is part of Cassandra Clare's greater, larger Shadowhunter universe. And the Shadowhunter universe is like a young adult series, and it focuses on teenagers primarily who are like gifted with like supernatural abilities, like speed and agility and whatnot, and like they're kind of descended down from angels is basically kind of the thing. They're like supernatural warriors of the divine, if you will. So yeah, this particular trilogy is like the sequel to the prequel series. It's a lot. It's a little confusing if you've never had anything to do with the Shadowhunter books. And yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time sitting here talking about this book because this is so deep into the Shadowhunter universe that me talking about it's like, what's the point? I mean, you've either read these books or you haven't, and I think a lot of people have not even reached this point in the trilogy or the series as a whole. But yeah, I found this to be a fitting conclusion to this particular trilogy. It was very satisfying, very emotional. I love the direction it went. I was really sad to say goodbye to this particular group of characters because we're never going to probably go back to them again. It's always sad. So yeah, another wonderful trilogy in Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunter universe I found. And at number 1, my favorite book that was published in the year of 2023, Empty Theater by Jacques Jimk. I still am not sure how the name is pronounced. And you guys, I have gotten a kick and joy out of doing this every single time that I talk about this book. This entire pink rope is literally the title of this book. And let me do this for you one final time. The book is called Empty Theater, or The Lives of King Ludwig II of Bavaria and Empress Stacie of Austria, Queen of Hungary, cousins in their pursuit of connection and beauty, despite the expectations placed on them because of the exceptional good fortune of their status as beloved national figures, with speculation into the mysterious nature of their deaths. As you can see, I kept rotating this book. I have a blast every single time I do it. I just freaking loved this book. Yeah, guys, me being a lover of all things historical fiction, I love this. I need more people to check out and experience this book, because I think on Goodreads there's barely any reviews or coverage of this book, and it's a shame. I just loved everything about this book. It's a satirical comedy, pretty much, looking into the lives of King Ludwig II of Bavaria and Empress Elizabeth of Austria-Hungary. They were both cousins in real life, and they were both really tragic historical figures, and they both died rather miserable deaths. King Ludwig himself, there's a lot of mystery about the death of King Ludwig. Was it suicide? Was it poison? Was it murder? Was it some sort of government coup? What the hell was going on there? Was it an accident? No one knows quite for sure what the hell happened to King Ludwig II. His death is very mysterious. And then Empress Elizabeth of Austria-Hungary, she died rather tragically as well. She was just out in the streets kind of doing her thing and walking around, and an assassin just came right on up to her and shot her and killed her. So yeah, this book, like I said, it's a satirical comedy looking at the lives of these two very tragic figures. And I mean, there's a lot looking into and poking fun at the fact that, you know, they live these really exceptional lives of wealth and privilege and whatnot, but like, the tragedy deep under that is the fact that these two individuals, they're just so depressed. You know, they're so incredibly depressed, and they don't really like their lot in life that much, you know, despite that wealth and privilege that they have. And yeah, they're both so incredibly vain. That's a big thing that this book is poking a lot of fun at too, is, you know, their vanity. You know, Ludwig wants to be young and beautiful forever. Same with Empress Elizabeth. She's very notorious for her long, gorgeous hair in her photos and whatnot. I would love to have her hair, good God. I just found this book to be so wonderfully written and captivating. Once again, it's a satirical comedy, which worked. It totally worked. This book has a lot of laugh out loud moments, but it's like once you kind of get through those laugh out loud moments, I mean, when you really dig into some of the context going on in this book, there's something very kind of sad and tragic about it. Once again, because of the nature of how these two individuals end up dying, you know, the direction of their lives and whatnot. So yeah, if you love all things historical fiction, if you love Ludwig and Empress Elizabeth, I definitely recommend checking this out. It's just really unique when it comes to historical fiction. Historical fiction tends to be pretty dark and dramatic, so this was kind of a breath of fresh air, something that was more light and vibrant. And I mean, I think you can tell that from this cover, you know, this pink and yellow cover, what you're going to get with this book, that it's not your traditional kind of historical fiction and whatnot. And on the plus side, you guys, the chapters are like super short. Yes. So yeah, I definitely recommend this if you love all things historical fiction. So you guys, that is it for my favorite books that I read in the year of 2023. In the comments below, have you guys read any of the books that I put in this list? Do you plan on reading any of them? Just let me know your thoughts down below. Plus, what were your favorite books of 2023? I'm definitely curious what they are. So yeah, that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.